Hello, hobbyists, and welcome to this very important review of Combat Storm. And of course, before we jump into it, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Combat Storm themselves. That is correct. They are sponsoring this review as well. So down in the description, you can find all the details of it, but use Dragon Deal at checkout for 30% off your entire purchase. That is the game and the extra terrain as well. So do make sure to go and use it. And of course, that is for 30 days, 30% off for 30 days. 30 for 30. Deal. Great deal there. But anyways, of course, we'd like to thank Combat Storm for sponsoring today's video. We'd like to thank them for sponsoring the battle reports as well. It's very gracious of them. And if you do go buy the game, do send them a message and tell them Mama Dragon's Miniatures sent you. But anyways, this is a review of the game. Paul and I have done 2 Combat Storm battle reports. Check them out in the over somewhere above. The little icon appears in YouTube to show off. So check them out if you haven't already. I think you need. It's a more advantageous, or I don't know. Advantageous, thank you. To watch those to understand kind of the concept of the game before you jump into the review, so you know kind of what you're getting into. Yeah. It does extremely help. But if you already played the game, seen the game before, or read the rules, then we're here to tell you the good, the bad, and well, we can't say the ugly, but the future hopes that I'd like to have. Now, I'm going to preference this right now. I'm more into the miniatures hobby than I think Paul is. I've read a 40K, Bolt Action, Blood Red Skies, Battletech, Armada, X-Wing, so I've been in way more than Paul has been into it, and I've watched a lot of battle reports as well, so if it sounds like I'm the one talking most of the time, that's just because I come from a background where I kind of understand where I want the game to go and understand a lot of the concepts. But
I know they made of plastic.
For Paul names, no, they made of plastic. But anyways, I will let Paul talk. Don't worry, this is not just mono me talking all. So why don't we start off with the good? I think we said this in the second battle report. If you are getting into the miniatures hobby, period, maybe you've gone to a gaming store, you've seen people playing on the tabletop with like 40K or Bolt Action or whatever your table is. Heck, maybe even Marvel Crisis Protocol or X-Wing or Armada, and you say, well, that'd be pretty cool. Sure, a lot of those games are very different, but you've always wanted to try out maybe the concept of the tabletop universe. This is the game to do it. It's very easy to get into. You don't need to buy models. You don't need to paint models. You don't need to spend all this time and money to get into the game. You can literally buy armament off eBay for $7, off Amazon for a couple bucks. Go to your local dollar store if they're sold there. Buy them for $1. But yeah, Paul, your opinion on it being very easy, especially because I taught you the game. So coming in, how did you feel about how easy it was to grasp the game?
Honestly, it's one of those games. So for me, doing tabletop has been a change. I grew up, now I did board games at home. When you think board games, think like Monopoly, Sorry, Solar Quest was a game I loved when I was a kid. So regular board games, I've played those before. Trading cards, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic, but miniatures, this is my first forage into it. And so to me, the ease of Combat Storm is one that virtually anybody can pick up. I didn't have any difficulty picking it up. It's very easy to understand. And it's something that you don't have to invest a lot of money in. I've looked into other things, and I'm not knocking any of the other miniatures out there, but they can get very, very pricey depending on if you have access to Amazon or you have, everybody has access to Amazon pretty much. Or eBay, but if you go to a hobby store, support your local hobby store, which is always a good thing to do, but it's still expensive. Like, it's expensive at a hobby store, and it's expensive on eBay or Amazon too.
Or this the seller themselves.
Oh yeah, or the seller. But this is really inexpensive. Like, you don't even need to have all of the stuff that they offer to do the game. You don't even have to have all the little things that we use, the buildings, the props. You don't have to have any of that. You can do it in your yard pretty much. So yeah, I like it. I think it's great, and it's great for beginners.
Yes, and another thing I want to point out is terrain. All war games need terrain. Yes. Whether or not you're going to play it on the tabletop or not, you need terrain. And terrain is expensive. There's no way around it. You're going to have to find a hobby company. Sure, if you have a 3D printer, then you can probably 3D print your own terrain, but you're probably saving the money there. But how many people out there really have their own 3D printers?
Right.
It's already pretty expensive, depending on the resin or the plastic. That's already an expensive little joyride there just to print terrain. So, I mean, even buying terrain is expensive. So coming already and having all this, just this paper terrain that all you really need is a printer. And sure, you spend the ink, but I mean, you can always just go to like what I did, the UPS store, and have them print. Sure, it gets a little more expensive, but I like the better cardstock because it actually held it up better.
UPS store, Staples, Office Max, if they're still around in your area.
So yeah, it's real nice. So that way you already have your terrain, and not mentioning, you don't have to keep that terrain exclusive to Combat Storm. You can take that to any war game you want.
Yeah.
Take it to 40K, take it to Bolt Action. I don't think Bolt Action, it looks too modern to World War II style, but you can probably take it to Team Yankee, other war games that use the style of terrain, and then you can just take it around. And if you want to buy more little terrain pieces here, like some trees, some bushes, rocks, or maybe some other little buildings, add on to it, go right ahead. But I think the terrain gives you a good starting place in terrain. Like I said, there's no models, there's no painting. It's really nice just to get in, like, because let me tell you, as a hobbyist where I come from, I buy the terrain. I bought the models, I paint the models. It can get up there. I have quite a lot of plastic shame. I will not be afraid to admit that I have plastic shame. I have a ton worth of paint, Army Painter Citadel, that just collects, and that's expensive. Brushes can get expensive, so it's really nice that all I really need is to buy some plastic Army men, and then just throw them on a tabletop. But yeah, I really, really think if you have a kid who's maybe gone to a local gaming store that maybe does card games or something else, like for instance, like over here, like if Paul happened to have, we have a few shops over here that happen to sell card games and on the side of miniature stuff as well. So if you happen to come into one of those type of shops and you see people playing, you know, you got your kid interested in it, you don't want to immediately just jump them into those big games. No. Because let's talk about the nature of rules. Rules in a lot of games are hard. It takes a little while to get to the rule nuances.
Yes.
Here, if you play a little while and you read through the rules, you'll get it. There isn't a lot of rules like heavy rules on cover saves. There isn't heavy rules like armor penetration, like rolling for hit, rolling to damage. There isn't all these nuanced rules that you have to know, especially if you're coming like from 40K or Bolt Action. So there's all these heavy rules. Not mentioning the point costs aren't, building lists aren't complicated.
No, they're not at all.
Because it's really just it's really just foot soldiers, special forces, and some tanks.
Right.
And it's not over complicated. Well, okay, now I got this tank that costs this much, and then I have to do this, and then I have this guy who costs this much, and then it's not an overcomplicated building system to build a team. You don't need a leader, and then the troops, and then your vehicles, and then your heavy transports, all this. It's all comes together. You can play a 2,000-point game. It's really nice. And I will point out, I think the missions are really nice, especially to get into it. Like I said, we used the open war cards for our second one, which spiced up the game a little. But if you don't want to do that, I think the missions are pretty good. We'll get more. We'll probably dive into a few of the other missions, just show them off what Combat Storm wrote. But yeah, overall, I think without any doubt, it's a good game to start. You just get in with your kids. You probably got some Army Men, or you can find them at Goodwill or something. You can print out some paper terrain. You don't even need a mat. You don't need a 6x4 table like we own. You just need some dice, and that's about it. Get a little tub of dice, a couple bucks off eBay or Amazon, and give them to your kid, roll them up on the floor, tape out the location of a 6x4 area, play on your kitchen table. You don't need, and heck, don't even play on a mat if you don't want to expend the mat, because mats are expensive as well. I will not lie to that.
No, they're not. They're not cheap.
They're not cheap. Especially the mats we own are all from Table War. They are not cheap mats. But you don't even need a mat. Just tape out a 6x4 area, put the terrain into place, and then just throw the guys on the table and start marching them across the board. And play the game. I think that's really nice. Overall. And anything else you want to say that's about good, Paul? I think we've touched pretty much everything. The rules, the terrain.
The rules are really easy to follow. It's pretty straightforward. A lot of them, there's all sorts of little nuances. It doesn't get really tricky at all. There's just a couple of times you have to kind of be aware of certain situations. Math is important. Use a calculator if you're trying to figure out your squad, because as with always, you have a lot of small numbers that add up because you're going to have a lot of squadrons. And I'll talk about that in a minute. The math teacher in me is going to come out. But as far as it's good, there's not much I can really pick apart on Combat Storm. It's very hard to pick apart. It's really, really, really good game. It's solid. It's easy, and it's cheap. And solid, easy, and cheap, I mean, you really can't go wrong in most situations.
Especially if you want to start in end of the tabletop. We cannot emphasize that enough. If you're going to start, this is the game to really do it. I know some people are going to like, oh, army men. I don't want to play with little green and tan army men. But I think if you have kids or you've been on the fence of saying, well, I kind of want to try a miniature game, then this is the game to kind of get it. Just get some friends, find a table. I mean, if you know friends, hey, even go to maybe your local store. Ask if they can borrow one of their tables. A lot of them are very friendly about it.
I'll tell you something else that's really good about this. So when we play like Blood Red Skies, we play Star Wars, we play those, you're very cognizant of your game pieces and how you don't want them to break. You don't want to break anything, obviously. You don't ever want to, but you accidentally drop a game piece inadvertently, you could break it, and then that game piece could be ruined at the order another. And that's a lot of money for some of those.
And especially if stuff is professionally painted, if stuff is painted very highly quality. I mean, there is a lot of horror stories of dropped 40K models.
I don't even want to think about it. When it comes to the Army Men, you can buy like 5 bags of them for maybe $20. And if you break one, who cares? Throw it away. Like, it's one of those that you can really break a piece and just toss it and say, we're good. Yeah. And some of the game, you can actually interchange some of the little men for other different like riflemen or whatever. You can interchange them a little bit too, as long as everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, Truth, we don't have a lot of the arm. Now, they do tell you like what the armament should look like, but I mean, for instance, for one of the battle ports, I think Paul ran around with flamethrowers as, I think, sniper rifles.
I think I did, yes.
I mean, as long as you and your opponent agree, okay, well, we don't have enough models that look like they have sniper rifles, we'll just make these guys look like they have sniper rifles.
Right.
I mean, as long as you and your opponent agree, as long as you have friends that agree, then yeah. Yeah, I think that's really the good. We'll get into some more little good things. Let's talk about the bad. There's not a lot of bad, and I'm going to explain a lot bad here because I think I'm the one who's probably more into this. There's not a lot of bad. I don't believe this game has a lot of bad things. Now, like I said, there are other games. I think there's things with Blood Red Skies that I do not like. I can tell you right now, I'm not too happy with currently with Star Wars X-Wing, with the way it stands. I don't like it. And of course, 40K has its problems as well, and I'm not going to lie. Every game has its problems, but I don't feel that there's a lot of problems in Combat Storm. It's supposed to be easy enough to get into with your kids and play on a tabletop, and I think that's the purpose it's for. It's for 12 plus kids who want to just, play some tabletop stuff without getting into the more expensive hobbies. But the one problem I have is that I feel like the rules aren't written very clear. Now, let me explain that. If you're from, let's say, you've never seen a war game, you've never watched one, you have never gone into your local store, this is the first time you've ever seen this war game, and you hear the words LOS, shortened for line of sight, you go and read Combat Storm's line of sight. It states in it that you have to draw a straight, unobscured line to whatever you're shooting at. Well, someone who's probably never seen another war game who doesn't know line of sight is pretty much unanimous to all the war games doing the exact same thing, from Legion, X-Wing, to anyone that's on the tabletop, like Legion, 40K, and Bolt Action. All line of sight always means as long as you can see a part of the model, you can still shoot at it. But in Combat Storm's written form, it sounds like you have to have a straight line. So even though you could see a guy over a half wall, then you have a problem there. Well, if I read that as interpreted exactly as say, I can't shoot that guy. He's in a half wall. I can't draw a straight line of sight through him because it's obscured. But then you get into like, okay, then how do cover saves work? If line of sighted means I cannot be obstructed, how does that work? So that's where I get my problem. The rules are written for maybe some people who've played other war games. I would like them to have clarified, like line of sight, an example saying you can, as long as you can draw a line to a model, any part of the model with the base, the model themselves, a piece of the gun hanging out of the wall, you can draw a straight line and you have line of sight there. That'd be really nice to have an example to that. And then you can go down to cover save, and then that helps you understand, okay, so that means I get cover save here, means my opponent gets a -1 to their rolls. So that really helps. I mean, Combat Storm is pretty well good at giving us examples. For instance, their blast weapons are given a nice long example of how blast weapons work.
Right.
Of how they work, how hit the deck works. They give you this nice long example. They give you an example of how shooting works, how the armor saves work. But to me, a lot of little nuanced stuff didn't get explained. Other things like, well, can a 40 millimeter grenadier shoot both his 40 millimeter and the assault rifle the same turn? That wasn't exactly explained. No, you can't. They learned that from Combat Storm. So you can't do that together. A light tank, the question is, it can carry 6 soldiers. Well, then can a squad of 8 soldiers get inside a light tank with 2 soldiers sitting outside? So 6 inside, 2 outside, and then the 2 outside follow the light tank to stay next to their marker? No, you can't. It's a all or nothing type of thing. But there's like those little rule nuances. I'm questioning about, like, for someone who might read it and might not understand or want to ask. And then the problem that you get into is like, okay, well, maybe someone else had these questions. It's probably common. Maybe someone else asked about line of sight, light tanks, all this. So you go to their website, combatstorm.com. You look at their FAQ page. The problem with their FAQ page is it feels like it's outdated. It doesn't have all the questions I had definitely on that definitely could have been added there. Now, I will say that there's a caveat to this. Combat Storm is very open to answering those questions. I emailed them about 20 questions about the game. They came in about a few days. Sure, it took a little longer because I had 20 questions on the game, but they came back. They answered all the questions. They were more than happy to talk. They even said some of those things they'd like to go back and do the developers and, update the rules of the game, maybe explain it a little better. So that's really nice. And of course, we've had conversations back and forth about rules as well. But that is the one thing I have to say that's not, that just kind of, irks me as someone who knows the game, who would, knows line of sight, may be able to pick up a few nuanced things from other war games. For someone who's new, never seen it, never touched, and just reading the rules, it might get a little confusing for them without examples to explain it. I mean, like every book's line of sight, every game I've seen about line of sight is always like, well, here's an example of how line of sight works. As long as you can see this or that, or congratulations, you can draw line of sight. But then you get into nuanced rules of cover saves, -1s and blah, blah, blah. But that really is my only real gripe with the game. But it's not a complete end-all gripe because Combat Storm is more than happy to answer the questions. Yeah. And that's really nice. A lot of companies could give you the book and say, well, yeah, we'll update the FAQ page someday. And then like, okay, when's the FAQ page updating? Or you could email them questions and they don't come back for days, months. Right. Who knows when they ever come back. That's really nice.
There's been trading cards out there, trading card companies that started up and they don't clarify their rules real well. And if you question them, they get upset with you. So it's good they don't get upset either. They're willing to answer the questions.
But yeah, that really is the only part that I really feel is the bad. Do you feel anything about bad, Paul?
Mine's not even bad. I mentioned the math thing earlier. So I will say that one thing that you will need to do, a calculator is very handy. Because a game is usually 1,500, 1,000, 2,000. I
think a 900-point game is the smallest point game you can play. But, I mean, you can do a 250-point game if you wanted to.
Right.
I think 900s, they say, is the recommended.
Yeah, and so what happens is when you start looking at all the different players of snipers, the support, the sergeant, and all the others, and you start adding, you've got those, and you start subtracting those up. Well, you have to try and make sure there's some math involved. So definitely addition and subtraction are very much needed in this game. But it's not bad. It's nothing crazy. But it just can get a little tricky in the math world. As a teacher, teaching elementary and middle school students, it can get a little overwhelming having to add all the stuff up. But it's not, when I say overwhelming, I mean like you might accidentally add something wrong and be off a few points. So little grace is always good when you're getting used to the game. But that's a very small complaint. Like I don't even know if it's a complaint. It's more of a, just know your math. Yeah. It's no different than trading cards. You gotta know how to read the card, right? So you gotta know how to do some math. It ain't that bad.
Yeah. One thing I would like to go back now that Paul mentioned is about the good is in the game they actually give you a little like unit sheet thing that you can track all your guys, so you can know how many missiles, your anti-air guys, how many grenades, how many med packs, which is really nice. Also, another thing I like to mention is that the soldiers don't carry a lot of weaponry.
Right.
It's not like suddenly, like if you're from 40K, I'll just make this reference, like a sergeant can have a bolt pistol, then he can have a bolt gun, then he can run around with his sword, and then, he has all these weapons. Or if we get into bigger, like a tank, and then you have like las guns, and then this tank's carrying on heavy bolters, and then it's got missiles. So, there's not a lot of guns. I mean, the tanks have more guns than normal.
Right. They have up to three
guns, but that's manageable. That's a very manageable gun. But I mean, like running around like your sergeant, all he's got an assault rifle. That's all you need to worry about.
Right.
Your grenadiers, 40 millimeters or the assault rifle, fire one, anti-armor, which is really nice. You don't have to memorize like, okay, does everyone have a grenade? No? Yeah. Okay, so you need the demolition expert to carry your grenades for you, which is not bad.
Right.
So I will say that is a good thing. It's the fact that there's not too many. Everybody has a very manageable amount of guns. You don't have to memorize a large amount of guns on all these soldiers and know, okay.
I agree.
And not mentioning it, almost all the guns, like all the assault rifles have the exact same profile. So you never have to memorize, okay, someone's running with a different type of assault rifle on this type of soldier. Sure, the special forces have that, but that's the only rule. And then
if you get the upgrade
points. But I mean, if you have, say, a full squad of assault rifle soldiers, you don't have to memorize that, 3 of these people have specialty weapons and all this. If everyone's the same gun, they fire at the same profile.
And you will find when you play this, you're going to have multiple squadrons or very large squadrons. So that's a really good thing, because if I'm running 9 if I'm running 9 riflemen and I can put 4 different guns. I'm going to fire these 2 of this, these 2 of this. It becomes be really, really bad.
I think, now, I don't know if this is bad, but it's a little sad. I wish we had it. But split fire, I kind of wanted it, but we can talk about that later in the stuff I would like the game to evolve to. But I would like split fire. But I think for learning this game, split fire is definitely something it's kind of complicated overall. But I think being able to shoot one target, that's your one target, and shoot at. And I also like the alternating activation. I know people have some gripes of alternating activation. You go, I go, you go, I go, you go, I go. I think it's actually a really nice game mode. I think it allows you to see the game much more differently. Blood Red Skies has alternating activations. Pseudo, I'll call it pseudo, mattering on badge levels and what pilot skills you have. But like if we're gonna go like the 40K, then we're not alternating. You go, then I go. I'm going to shoot all my guns, and maybe or whether or not you might be dead, and then you might not get to play the game.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, because like when you alternate like that, also when you think about real battle, you think about real life. The whole one side doesn't shoot everything. You stand there and take all your damage, and you fire what you got back. It's literally back and forth. So that actually helps to make it a little more authentic. So I like it. I think it's really good. I got it. I don't really have any bad things to say about it.
I mean, I know we've jumped immediately from the bad back to the good, but I kind of think that
the good outweighs the bad.
The good outweighs the bad. Like I said, the only bad I came up with was because the rules felt a little, desirable to get some examples, some help to help someone completely new, understand line of sight, all these little nuanced things that might come throughout the rules. But that's really my only bad. Like I said, the good definitely heavily outweighs everything. This is a very good, just solid game. But now let's talk about some things I'd like to see. I don't know if Paul has a lot of this. This is stuff definitely coming from me, from other war games that maybe I'm trying to make Combat Storm into other war games, but I would like to see some of this stuff. Now, the first thing I'd like to see, new units. In the armament, you have your flamethrower. You got your mortar. You got your minesweeper.
Right.
Where are they? I would like to shoot mortars down the battlefield.
Yeah.
I like to burn, have a flamethrower run down the battlefield. Hey, make it even more dangerous. If a specific gun, any gun can, he has a rule. If someone hits them like the first shot with a 6, it's an auto death for him. The flamethrower pack explodes, auto killing him, and then anyone around him gets killed as well. I think that'd be really cool.
Would be interesting, yeah.
And then like a minesweeper, like the ability to set mines pre-game and then have like a minesweeper go around, sweep up the mines, and then, detonate them. Or, maybe he can help with detonating C4, like he picks up C4 or stuff like that. I think we need new units. And I think that would help expand out some of the armament. Another thing I like to have is close combat. We have some units that have close combat, but we'll talk about more close combat weapon things. But we got like guys with bayonets, so it'd be really cool if we could have like a bayonet weapon on rifles that you can maybe upgrade. But yeah, you were gonna say something?
I was gonna say that would actually offset one thing that I don't call it bad because it really works to my advantage. Is how I play. But snipers are OP. And I really think that something that would actually counterbalance the snipers, a landmine. If the snipers get blown up, guess what? I'm gonna be trying to find ways to keep my snipers alive, so I might get some taken out. Because if you do it, of course, it's a dice game. It's all the roll of the dice. I could have 50 snipers and roll bad dice and totally get destroyed, or I can have 6 snipers and have really good dice and bye-bye you go. So it does come down to the dice, but for just the mechanics, the way the snipers shoot, their distance, their damage. Now, of course, obviously a sniper is trained in real life, so it's probably where they're coming from with this, making them where they're so overpowering. But I think there could be something to help with that. So I think the other modes, other types would be a really good thing.
Yeah, I mean, the snipers are overpowered. I think every sniper rifle has the headshot bonus.
Yes.
I think maybe if they decrease the headshot bonus to maybe the better sniper rifles to force you to upgrade your sniper rifles to headshots.
I think that'd be wise.
I think that'd be wise as well. But yeah, that's a little small nuance. I think you can get around sniper rifles again. Headshot bonus is only on success and it's only on a 5+.
Right.
So basically you only get two icons. A 5 and a 6 is the only way to headshot.
Back to the dice again. You got to have good dice rolls, and guess what? You don't always have good dice rolls.
No, I mean, yeah, and then you have the armor save, and depending on who you're shooting, and then there's the -1 cover save, and then there's all little nuance. Like if you know you got snipers, hide your guys, hide them behind cover, into the snipers. Like Paul has almost every one of his squad has snipers, so if you hide a little in the thing to force the snipers where they can't get any shots, then you come around and shoot them. You can do that. Again, alternate activation, I think that's really also why we like it, because it actually gives you a little nuance to think, okay, well, if that team moves up and I'm over here in cover, I'll activate this to get into another cover, then force your opponent to come out and let another squad, always being able to make your opponent think where they need to move, hide, and do stuff. But yeah, I would wish new units would come into the game, maybe some evolutions of other units. I think Special Forces need a few more soldiers. I feel like your sergeant, your rifleman, your demo guy, and your sniper, sure, that's very nice, but I'd like to see maybe a medic, because it'd be really nice to carry a medic around on them, being able to remove the 2 wounds. Yeah, they have 4+ armor save, but it'd be nice to have a medic around with them. If that's the only soldier that gets added on, it'd be really nice to just have a medic running around with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to see Combat Storm give us a 3rd edition with some new units, maybe even some newer guns, maybe more upgrade guns, or maybe you can upgrade guns to Pacific soldiers that have a Pacific gun that you can buy. They're a little way more expensive, like veterans. Like these are veterans of war and war, so they have better guns because they got better equipment than say the normal soldier, because they're much more trained. They spend more time. They understand war better and combat better, so it makes sense for that. But yeah, I love to see more soldiers, like getting the flamethrower, the mortar, and the minesweeper in the game, so you can actually use those models. Heck, maybe even the guy with the radio would be really cool to maybe even be able to use like long-range artillery guns.
Yeah.
Like he has assault rifle, but he can call in, like you can buy long-range artillery weapons, like the 4 Observer can buy helicopter strikes and bombing runs. He can buy long-range artillery weapons that can bombard an area. And then that'd be a blast weapon. That'd be a really cool thing to add to the game as well. I'd also like to say that maybe we could get pistols. There's no pistols throughout the game.
No, you're right.
Maybe I'd like to see pistols, so that way maybe if you're in closer range, a pistol can then, get in there. And then, again, it'd be either shoot your assault rifle or shoot your pistol.
It would be interesting also thinking of the helicopters. If the helicopters became a squadron, like if you had a piece, like a piece on the ground that actually went up and over top of it to hold it up in the air, but you actually had a squadron of helicopters too you could bring in. That'd be cool.
That would be cool. I know like Team Yankee, if anyone's ever seen Team Yankee by the people who made Flames of War, I don't know the actual companies, but they have like a helicopter model on it. That's one thing I'd like to have. More vehicles.
Yeah.
Tanks are real nice. You got your main battle tank, you got your light tank, you got your artillery tank, and you got the one tank I don't think either of us have ever ran at once is the anti-air tank, which is shooting like anti-air bullets, supports against artillery. But that one, without a doubt, I think needs to be revamped to be a little better. Yeah. Like I said, if we had like helicopters in the game, I think then I would have more of a reason to take that tank. Yeah. Sure, he's got guns that can do damage, but it's like most of the time his main purpose is to shoot down stop helicopter runs and bombing runs, attacks, and stop artillery shells coming in. I mean, if we had like the guy with the radio who could call artillery rounds, then yeah, it makes sense. Maybe we bring that tank more often. Right now, it's like, well, why bring it? It's not really all that.
Kind of a waste of time.
Kind of a waste of time to bring it just so you can shoot some dudes off the battlefield.
Yeah.
Sure, maybe if your opponent build a list and they happen to have, artillery, like what we just said, bombing runs, helicopters, or the artillery tank on the field. I would like to see like Humvees. I think Humvees would be really cool to have Humvees run down the field. I think helicopters would be really cool to get into the game. Here they come, helicopters. And then, of course, I don't know anything else. Maybe like another tank that does something else. I wouldn't really know, but maybe we could get some more like long range stable tanks. I don't know. There's like a lot of things they could do, but one thing I would like to see is Humvees. I'd like to see like some Humvees drive around the board and then do some damage across the board. It'd be really cool to see Humvees.
Yeah. Well, it'd be interesting to see them actually. I mean, if it was more modernized, as of the way that I remember look right now, it's the same as when I was a kid, which I'm 42. Mm-hmm. So you're going back 35, 40 years. I remember the same. So we're thinking about combat in the 40s, 50s, 60s style. We really haven't got up into the new technology. Now, of course, that's a whole different game. Mm-hmm. If you add technology in like, faster planes or B-2 stealths or anything like that, that would be very interesting to say the least, but it would be a whole different game then. So I don't know. That'd be like maybe Generation 4 or 5 or something.
I don't know. But it'd be real nice. I think they need some more vehicles. Sure, we got the 4, but I mean,
they could use more.
They could use more. Other things I'd like to see. Close combat. I know it's probably not very trained well, probably in the military. I wouldn't know. You can leave me a comment if it is. But I'd like to see some close combat, get in there and get in the tussle of, knives and swords and like bayonets, getting in there and like attacking. A lot of games have close combat. Bolt action 40K. I don't think Legion has any close combat. I think they do. Jedi can do close combat. And think then clone troopers can punch back. But it'd be really nice if we could get in like danger close and do close combat and resolve this way, I think it'd add a little flair to like moving your guys in close combat.
It would attacking. Be especially like if you're in a city environment, if you're doing like different terrains, if you do a city terrain, I'm thinking of like Desert Storm, Afghanistan, when they were in cities, the military was going in like that. It was close combat involved. And of course, weaponry was included.
I mean, then we could use pistols. Then you could add pistols in for like close combat shooting.
Yeah, I see the point. Close combat still, even though we are a technologically advanced society, there's still close combat at times. And so I think it would be really good to have.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool. Now, another thing I'd like to see is a reserve system. Throwing all your guys out on the battlefield is great. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, especially for a war game where it's just starting. Right. Reserve system does get a little more complicated. Like, okay, how does a reserve system work? How many points can you put in reserve?
That makes sense.
And all that. But I like to see like a reserve system. Like, so you have so many, like 75% of your points are on the board. You can't. So again, it's split on the squads. So 75 or 50% of your squads, or some odd percentage of your squads, or so many squads have to be on the board. Again, that has to be something combat store and have to flesh themselves out. So it'd be really nice if we have this squad. I'm going to put them in reserve. So then maybe round 2 or 3, I can say, okay, well, they're going to come in over here so that they can counteract you. And then, give some minuses to them. They're reserved, so maybe they come in with a -1 to shoot because, they're rapid combat soldiers coming right in the battlefield. Right. It'd be really cool maybe if we could add a new unit like paratroopers, who are specifically made to be reserved. So they come down on like turn 2 or 3, they come down, give them, say, a -1. Give them maybe a -2 if they get in close combat. Another thing I'd like to see is shotguns. I'd like to see shotguns come into the game. Yeah. Shotguns would be a pretty cool weapon. if soldiers could carry around that. But yeah, I would love to see a reserve system in the game, ability to like drop paratroopers out of the sky.
That would be cool.
Reserve system of like, okay, well, here's a Humvee coming in and dropping soldiers off, and then you don't see the Humvee, it just drops away real quick.
Right.
You know, it's dropping off these quick soldiers. What I would really like to see is a way to say, okay, well, I have this on the board, I have this in reserve. Now you have to be concerned, when am I going to bring my reserve in? And of course, you can make it so that maybe it's only like round 3 is the limit of your reserves. That's the limit they can come in. If you start your 3rd battle round and you don't bring your reserves in, then they're considered gone. They can't come into the battlefield.
Right.
No, give some specific rules so that you know. Or maybe they don't come into like battle round 5. And sure, they don't have battle rounds, like I'm saying. It's just like round 5. But that'd be really nice. I mean, sure. Combat Storm has said openly that they are more than happy to, if you want a house rule. So Paul and I could easily house rule in paratroopers on the field and try it out and give an idea to it. But I really would like to see Combat Storm give us that.
That'd be nice. Would be.
It would be. I know Combat Storm is working on if you haven't seen, they are working on a little side project called Heroes that would upgrade your Special Forces guys.
Nice.
But I would like to upgrade specifically in the game already to Special Forces. Special Forces already got upgraded armor. But I'd like to upgrade their guns. Maybe Pacific guns, only Special Forces soldiers can be upgraded too. Better, guns overall. I would like the sniper maybe to take the 50 cal sniper rifle, but right now he can't take the 50 cal sniper rifle because he's a Special Forces sniper. I could do it on a normal sniper. So I like maybe some upgrades, and I would like a better way of the armor saves. Sometimes I feel like 5+ isn't all great. Maybe the ability to maybe if they're behind cover you get a -1, but maybe you can also give like a +1 cover save so that if someone's ducking behind the building they get +1 to their armor save. Some little nuances like that I feel like could help the game, because I feel like 5+ is great, but I think it's that means you're going to lose a lot of squads real quick unless you're going to pay them points to upgrade body armor on all your guys, and that's already expensive enough because you have to do upgrade body armor on everyone. Little squads make sense. Basically, I think the body armor upgrade is supposed to be on the squads that are good, but maybe like an upgraded body armor, like thicker plate armor, like Juggernaut armor that gives them like 3+ save. Some other little things that could nuance to help those armor saves. Now, it does sound like what we're trying to do is overcomplicate the game, and I do apologize if that's what it sounds like. I'm trying to overcomplicate the game, but that's kind of what I want 3rd edition to be. I want 3rd edition to give us a little bit more, but keep it simple.
Is that affecting
a lot of the stuff I am saying, it does sound complicated, and of course, like we said, a game that's well built for new players, well built for someone who's new to the hobby. What I'm sounding like is more like I'm talking 40K and all this stuff here, and I do apologize, but that's where I come from. I started in 40K. That's where I started the entire hobby. If you don't know, that's miniature wargaming helped start this entire thing. So I started in 40K, painting, grabbing models, and reading their books. So I know kind of how that nuance works, and it does sound like I am trying to make the game 40K. But I'm not. I'm just saying that these are things that they could add into the game.
Yeah.
They could adjust to make it simple enough for someone, who's just first time getting into it.
You could also make it levels, like you have a beginner level where it's like just the combat like we've been doing, and then there's a 2nd level that adds some more. And then there's a 3rd level, call it the expert level. Call it the beginner, intermediate, expert.
Yes, they do have some extra rules at the end, like tanks. If tanks are destroyed, they become cover. So they're stuck there in the field. Instant death is in the game, where like a soldier dies, doesn't fail their armor save, they're instant death. They also have the ability to where if a squad eliminates a full squad, they can activate again. So there are these little new rules, but I actually like your idea. I think that if they could do like a 3rd edition as a beginner edition, here's some beginning rules we took from 2nd edition. It's the same thing as 2nd edition. We just updated the rules, more examples to help you understand it. Intermediate, we'll add some new units, some new guns, some new rules. And then experts, like for anyone like us who's played the game, probably going to be playing long enough, like, okay, well, here we go. Here's all these expert rules. Here's here's better armor saving ability. Here's the ability to paratrooper reserves. Here's some more better vehicles. Here's all these different guns. Maybe you can upgrade vehicle guns with like a better tank cannon. Maybe give a tank rounds even more explosive, like heavy explosive round. Like all this stuff that they could easily do. And I think that's why I quite enjoy it, is because there's all these things I can see them doing in a 3rd edition that I hope they do in a 3rd edition.
Yeah.
I have no idea when Combat Storm is going to release a 3rd edition. If you write down in the comments when's 3rd edition, I don't know. I don't have any plans. I'm not speaking with the developers here. This review is just our thoughts all together. Sure, if the Combat Storm developers greatly enjoyed everything we've said here and want to add it to the game, heck, if you want to release like a supplemental thing on the side, I think that'd be really cool. You keep 2nd edition and say, well, if maybe you played 2nd edition enough, here's some supplemental rules with some new units, some new ways to play the game, and then just give that to someone. Make it a free PDF. They could do that. There you go. Make it a free PDF. People can pick it up if they've already owned the game, and then they can try out these new ways to play it. I think that'd be really cool.
It would be.
But yeah, I don't think I have really anything else I really think I want to update the game with. I think, like I said, the base game is good. The upgrades I like is more coming from an expert level, coming from someone who's seen 40K played, who just wants to kind of add all these little rule nuances. So, it keeps the game exciting, keeps the game neat. Now, I will say, if you want to play the game and want to house rule a bunch of stuff, go right ahead. I don't think Combat Storm is going to come pounding down your door if you got paratroopers in here, or maybe you really want the special forces to be able to upgrade it. Maybe the snipers are the only one who gets to upgrade their guns to the 50 cal, and that's all they can do. Maybe you want to make cover save also give a -1, but get a +1 to any soldiers behind it. All these little things you can add into it, and I think that's really nice. It's a very simple game mode. Heck, we took open war cards, threw them down, we got an area to play on, we got a mission and a twist, and we can take the rules for Combat Storm and say, okay, well, here we go. Everyone can do the same thing. So, I mean, it's very open. The rules are very easy to take to any other game mode. So if you wanted to say you have a bunch of 40K rule books and there's some easy missions that don't overrelate to the game itself, take it, play it, and try it out. Same for bolt action. I think same for Star Wars Legion. As long as you take out or edit anything that's more related to that game-specific rule sets and specific way it's played, and edit that out, but still make it very simple, you can play it. Like, instance, the 40 open war cards have a bunch of psychers, and then like morale tests. That's another thing I'd like to have, morale. Yeah, it's a weird thing to say that there's no morale in this game. You think after like Episode 2, where I switched cheese and bombarded the entire middle of the table and there's a dude left in the field, you think he'd be shaking his boots wanting to run home. All his friends got obliterated on the battlefield.
Nope, he's still there.
He's still there. He's still standing. I would like to see a morale system. Again, another thing, maybe they could bring in the experts level. Okay, well, now there's morale. If you lose so many soldiers, like the squad has a full morale. Then you can give like the sergeant a morale bonus, you know, say like, as long as he's alive, he makes some morale better on your soldiers. And that's another thing I'd like to see is morale for the squads. That way, it makes it more feasible. For the fact is, I killed that whole squad. There's a dude left. That dude should not be standing there at the end of the turn. He should unless he rolled something amazing, like I think like a 1. Maybe like make it a 1. He's got like the bravest thing. And then there's another upgrade you could throw in the guys. Insane bravery. These guys just don't fear anything. They're crazies.
Yeah, you could roll for bravery, basically. I mean,
or pay like them to have an insane bravery so that they never actually fear anything. No matter how many guys die in their squad, they always stay there to fight again the next turn.
I like that. I never thought that.
I mean, a lot of this is coming from other Army Men games. I do own 2 others. I don't know if we'll ever actually get into them, but I could definitely take like bits and pieces out of them to add to it. So I think they have like a morale system, or they, I think they have like, you can like pay for like insane bravery, stuff like that. But, yeah, I mean, I really would like to see the morale system. But like I said, the base game is very good. I think what we're just wanting to do is add more rules onto it. I mean, heck, Paul and I may just make up the house rules and add them slowly on it. I may even put a free PDF on our channel, like every time we play, like, here's the house rules we've added. Like, feel free to play with them. I don't think Combat Storm is going to be any angry if we suddenly got house rules. I think they would like the fact that, we're evolving the game, playing it more fun and just showing you off. I think that's why they were more than happy and more than eager to sponsor the 2 battle reports and us. Like I said, if you look on YouTube, we're the only ones right now with like battle reports. There's like a 11-year-old video which nothing wrong with the video, but my gosh, the videography definitely has aged from 11 years ago. From that time. There's nothing wrong with that review. It's just, I think they were either doing first edition or second edition. I don't know. But like 11 years ago, like there's that review out for them. And then there's like nothing wrong with this other person, but there's like clip show battle report. It's weird. It's not exactly what I call a traditional battle report, but you know, it gives you maybe the nuances in a clip show. But like, we're basically now probably the one channel that might be doing the content on YouTube and really bringing more people. I think I had one person already said that they were going to get into the game because of us. So I mean,
there you go.
Yeah, I'm glad we can bring Combat Storm, and I'm glad they sponsored us.
I mean, I'll be honest, like up until, you know, when I was a kid, of course, I played Army, and I've told Tyler this a few times, and I've even mentioned it on the last battle report or the battle reports. You know, I played with them as a kid, never thought of anything else but just playing out in the yard with them. And so how many people have this already? Their kids already have this somewhere. Mm-hmm. You don't even have to go, really, we talk about low cost, like there's how many households just have these piled up in a box somewhere.
I mean, Goodwill probably has a chunk ton of them. I mean,
oh, I'm sure.
Maybe your grandparents do.
Yeah. And guess what? If they're from 1966 or 2016, they're still plastic and they still do the same thing. There's no like, well, you got to have this edition model. You got to have this color model.
I mean, that's also really nice because, you know, a lot of people will complain about color schemes. There's not a color scheme in a green Army man and tan Army man.
It's green, it's tan.
It's green or tan. We don't have to spend time, okay, well, that black is not the correct black for that army in that specific time period in that specific date and age.
Yeah, they all look virtually the same, just two different colors, and it works out.
It does. So overall, I give Combat Storm a 9 out of 10. I'm going to dock the 1 point for their rule writing, but that's all I'm going to dock. I'm just docking the 1 point for rule writing because I think they need to come back, update their FAQ page. They need to probably maybe update the PDF with maybe a supplement PDF to explain, giving a lot of examples for a lot of the rules that might be, you know, confusing to someone new. But that's the only reason I'm docking 1 point. I still believe that if you're on the edge of tabletop wargaming, you got friends, you got Army men, heck, just don't even play with Army men. You got, say you got a friend who's got some models and maybe they painted up, just throw them on the board. I don't think, as long as they, you know, they have a gun and you can say that's a sergeant, that's a rifleman, that's a sniper, there's a tank. Heck, we could probably take 40K models. I mean, if you got a friend who's got a bunch of 40K models, just take a bunch and sure, maybe Necrons and, you know, the Imperium might not make sense, but one's the PCF and one's the USA. And as long as you got, you know, a guy with a rifle that you can say that's a rifleman, he's going to move up the board and he's going to shoot a gun. I mean, yeah, just print out the terrain, just print out the tokens you need, and just have fun. I think that's really where it's down to, is just have fun with it. Make up your own scenarios. You don't like any of the scenarios in the book, just make up your own. Make it up like the Army Men games used to. Well, here we have a point right here. It's 3 points at the end of every turn. Whoever controls it, we're just trying to take the point. Yep. That's it. It's as simple as that. Just march up the field, take the point, get the points. Just make it into like, I think their first mission they tell you to do is just make it a kill point. Just kill everything off the board. That's the plan. There's just so much you can really do with this game yourself. And I think that's really nice too, is that you can house rule, make your own rules in it, do your own little stuff in it. And I think by taking that, it's just so, the rule set is just so good that you can just take in house rule all these little things, take other parts for other war games and add them in slowly into your own version of the game.
And honestly, as you give them a 9, as me being somebody who just plays the game to have fun, I'm going to give it a flat 10 because, quite frankly, on my end of it, where Tyler has the nuances and Tyler has all this stuff and the rules and he's played multiple games, I come from the side that really hasn't played anything. And so, at the beginning of the video, I said, they're made of plastic. I mean, that literally is like, that's my start point, and I played with them as a kid. So I give it a full on 10 because the playability is very easy. It was something I was able to catch up on, and it even was a little reminiscent of childhood, you know, because I mean, it's something I grew up with, playing Army Man with my grandfather, who was an Army vet himself. So, you know, it's something. Maybe I'm just a little partial because I have military background and my grandfather and all, you know, but I really do like the game, and I give it a solid 10.
Yeah, and I will say this on that 9 as well. This is a game you can get anyone who's basically can just read the rules, interpret the rules, and at least all you need is a tape measurer, take some models down the field, roll a few dice up somewhere. Heck, if you got an uncle and aunt people who have never played wargaming, who probably wouldn't understand the concept of, well, now we got to hit to attack, roll to hit. You got to roll to damage. Well, armor value, penetration values, all these little nuances stuff, that other war games overcomplicate. The reason why a lot of times, it takes a while. You got to go play with your friends, or you got to go to a local store, and got to play it a little while before you even discover. Okay, well then, or you might even be messing up the rules. You go to an official tournament, and the next thing you know, well, hey, you messed up that rule. Oh, that's how I was originally playing because I interpreted it because the FAQ might not be out or something to help you. That's why I think this is just a great game. Anyone can really pick it up as long as if you have the questions, ask those questions and then just write those down, and then it's okay. Well, I'm going to grab little Timmy, and we're going to grab our favorite army men. You take the green, you take the tan. We'll build 1,000 points. We'll build a simple board. We'll take one of these missions, and that's it. We'll just have a fun time.
And it's that easy, yeah.
It's just that easy, and I think that's why I really enjoy the game.
I agree.
It's just so easy to get into and so easy to play, and it's just very good fun.
It is good fun. I thoroughly enjoy it. Nothing against Blood Red Skies. I love it too. I love Star Wars X-Wing when I was playing. I like it. But for me and what all I do in the business, and I teach and I do all sorts of things, this is a game that I can just come in, pick up, go. And it's great.
Yeah, that's what's really nice too, is I come from the background where Paul's the business. I do with all the painting. So anything that Blood Red Skies planes, that's all my painting. When you see Battletech in the future, that's all my painting. If we ever get to Bolt Action or 40K down the line, who knows, 10 years from now maybe. Maybe, who knows? It's still very up in the air, but that's my painting. I have to take the time to paint. This is not a game where I have to take the time to paint every little individual.
No, they're already colored. That's good, because if it was up to me to painting, it'd be all one color, the whole thing, no detail, nothing. It's green. Bam. Okay, it's a beautiful plane. Why is it completely green? Because I had to paint it. That's why.
But yeah, that's just really, really nice. There's no painting, there's no assembling, there's no having to, get a knife, a hobby knife, cut yourself. There's no scraping mold lines. It'd say, sure, there's mold lines on army men, but I don't think anyone's going to care if your army man has a mold line. But that's just what's really nice. It's the fact is that you can grab a box like we do, put it down, open it up, grab some bags. Like I have all mine sorted, throw them up. Find the guys you want, say, okay, well, this guy's going to be a rifleman, this guy's going to be my sergeant, and then put them in your squads and hit them on a tabletop and just go ham. But yeah, overall, we got a 9 and a 10, so I think we're just going to say it's a 10 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Have you played the game? Have you tried it out? Have you read the rules? Do you know people who've tried it out? Let us know any thoughts you think the game would evolve to. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you'd like to add to the game if you've played it before, or if you've seen the battle reports, what little things you'd like to add yourself. I think that'd be a great conversation. Once again, we'd like to thank Combat Storm for the sponsoring of all of these videos. We thank you, Combat Storm. It's been a great pleasure, actually, just speaking with them online. They've been more than excited about the videos. They loved it. I think when they came out with the first one, they talked about Paul's great snipers hits and my great bombing run attack that happened. It was a lot of fun. And
it is fun. I will
it's
say
a lot of fun. So
something else in the comments, if anybody who watches this has any prior military experience, maybe you were National Guard, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, whatever. What's your thoughts on playing on Army men, or maybe Marine men if you're a Marine person? No offense, hoo-ah. But Semper Fi, actually. Let's be real about that. But what's your thoughts on that? What's your thoughts on the real thing? If you were to play this, would you come at it from a military standpoint? What would it change for you? I was not in the military long enough to see any battle of anything major like that. My respect and everything goes out to all those men and women out there who have sacrificed the ultimate for our freedom and for our country. Let that not be mistaken. I'm going to put that out there right now. But so I wasn't out on the battlefield, so to speak. But what is your thoughts? Maybe if you know someone who's played, maybe grandfather, your dad, yourself, what do you think about it? Does it change anything? Is it, interesting thing I didn't think about was if somebody played this, could it, and this maybe could be one of the negative thing, could it ever elicit PTSD? I never thought of that.
I mean, yeah, it could. I mean, if we think of like 40K, it's a sci-fi universe. It's not really going to happen. No robot mummies are going to start popping out of the ground.
I just happen to think of that because whole family full of military, so
I mean, yeah, like bolt action mine. I mean, it is World War II after all, but I mean,
yeah.
I mean, let us know if that would ever really
your thoughts and progress.
Paul and I can never really speak on that. There's no way Paul and I can ever even step into that idea. What if this game would ever cause PTSD? Paul and I do not have that experience. We're not going to pretend we have that experience. We're not going to pretend that is a very serious thing for veterans. Also, by the way, as Paul said, if you do see a veteran, give them a shake and give them a thank you.
Absolutely.
And a hoorah, depending on, if they're Marines or whatever, but a hoorah nonetheless. But shake their hands. If you have families and folks, give them a hug, give them a thank you.
Absolutely.
I think they'd be much appreciated about that. Paul, we might actually have to do a donation video maybe down the line for veterans.
I like that. I like you thinking on that. I like thinking on that a lot.
We'll have to plan that. We'll let you all know when that comes out one day. Maybe we'll have to even do it live for the fun of it.
That would be cool.
But yeah, so overall, it's a great game. It's a great system. I think there's a little nuances in the rules for newer people, but that's me. That's me. For someone like Paul, who I don't even know if you even read the rules. I think I taught you all the rules.
Yeah.
But maybe like Paul might actually get on the nuance from there. But from someone from me who's read the rules, there's little nuances. I wish there were examples, and I do want a whole bunch of changes in here. Like I said, we may house rule a bunch of this stuff into the game so that you and I can try it out. Yeah. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We'll just throw that house rule out of the way. It's just good to test it out. But yeah, overall, again, use Dragon Deal at checkout, save 30% off for the next 30 days. It's a great deal. You can find all the details in the description below. Again, if you do go see Combat Storm, say Mama Dragon's Miniatures sent you, so you can thank them for that 30% off deal. Again, that covers your entire purchase. That can cover the entire PDF book on the first round terrain and also their second round of terrain. And do be on the lookout for, of course, their Combat Storm Heroes, their release, and then also some other releases. I'm not going to spoil anything unless they, of course, have already said it. I don't want to spoil anything coming down the line, but I do know Combat Storm Heroes, they are working on it. They have an Instagram page. They got a Facebook page. I don't think they have a Twitter, but again, if you want all that information, go to their website, combatstorm.com. Find it all. Again, ask questions. If you want to get into more information, Combat Storm has also let me know that they are more than happy that if they want to sponsor with us or talk with us again, they are more than happy to work with us as well. So. Awesome. Again, let us know in the comments down any of your thoughts from what Paul said, from what I said, or if you're just going to say, man, can't wait for more Combat Storm battle reports. Do not worry. We will be doing some more recording for them. I think we may set them once a month just for ease of recording, especially as we grow more and more games. We want to make sure we have plenty of time to record all these games. Paul does. Both of us do work full-time jobs. YouTube is not our career choice.
I'm a high school math teacher. That takes up about 60-something hours of my week. So
and I work an 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. So I mean, and then I have to paint, and it's like I said, there's a lot of stuff. So we don't do YouTube as our career choices. So again, like I said, once a month is probably, and then maybe down the line, maybe we might make it twice a month or more. We'll have to see.
I'm not YouTubegenic, and I don't know how to do any of the TikTok dances. So you're not getting any of that from me. All you get's great dad jokes. Don't forget 30% off for 30 days because 30 days is like a calendar, and you should worry about the calendar because its days are numbered.
All right. Well, anyways, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell here at the end, and we'll see you here next time on Mama Dragon's Miniatures.